Hey, this is Steve from Pivot Physical Therapy. Thanks for inviting me to speak today. And my topic is something that should be of interest to everyone. It's on preventing injuries and efficiency and productivity. So it's about money, okay? So what's happened before, and I think you can all relate to this, you tend to have things you have to get done and people you need to get those things done. And the people generally fell into two categories. You had your regular guys. They might not have been the most super trained guys in safety in the world, but they functioned, they got the job done. It was non-optimal, but it worked and you went with it. Then you had new guys that were being mentored, hopefully, by the regular guys. They were learning how to do things. They were coming along. And again, maybe they weren't the best safety trained guys in the world, but they went through what they needed. They were able to get the job done, and things worked for you. Now, what would happen if a guy, one of your regular guys, was injured, or one of the new guys couldn't do the job or was injured? Then you had a phenomena where you'd move on to the next guy. And I think you see where I'm going with this, because the next guy is becoming an endangered species. So you got your regular guys, you got your new guys, and where the hell is the next guy? We don't know. We've been looking for that next guy for months. So what that means is keeping your regular guy and your new guy on the job is very important for your productivity. It's very important so that you can get the work done. So what can you do to go ahead and make that better? What can you do to keep those jobs running, keep those people out there, and keep your productivity going? And I think if you're not already doing it, I think you're in the process of looking at what is a cost-effective way to do that, because we just can't keep being shorthanded and we can't keep stopping production because we got people who are falling all over themselves. So I think you want to look at what is it going to cost me to keep these people productive, and what am I going to save by not being shorthanded all the time. So I think when employees come in, they're different from equipment. Equipment comes in, it's got a maintenance schedule, it's got a manual. Employees come in, no manual. Do they know how to do the job? That's something you can train them. Do they know how to do they know how to do their stretches? Do they know how their body works optimally? They don't. Most people don't. So what we're going to talk about is some things that sort of will represent a manual for people as far as how to go about shipyard work and not get injured. So I'm going to kind of phrase this and go through a bunch of stuff. And I'm going to throw a lot at you, and don't worry about it. That's why it's on video, so you can come back and reference it. So we're going to start at the bottom and work our way to the top. So everybody comes in there and they're going to be on their feet a lot. Now, what can I as a physical therapist do to help them with that? First of all, they're going to need a good sturdy boot, and boots have liners. And sometimes they're fairly thin and don't do much. And what I'm going to suggest is it might be useful for them to get some sort of a thicker cushioning orthotic to put in the boot. Now, these are usually available at running stores, because they can usually have somebody there who can look at the type of foot you have and decide if you're a flat-footed guy, do you need more support? If you've got a high arch, do you need more cushioning? So the whole deal is those custom orthotics that you can, they're sized for the shoes, so they don't necessarily have to do too much as far as measuring your foot or doing anything, but they're available is my point. They're not super expensive, and they tend to have a thickness to them. That's what you want. But the problem is, if you've already bought the boots, sometimes the orthotic is too thick, so that you're tight in the toe box and your foot can't fit in. So what I'm suggesting is these folks might want to go out, go by these running stores, find somebody competent, get an orthotic, some sort of a cushioning orthotic that fits in the boot, and then go look for the boot. Because you're going to be on those feet how many hours a day for how many years? So let's get the feet taken care of. That's a big thing. Next thing up is the knees. Why are knees important? Well, I don't know. Stairs, ladders, deck plate. You're going to be on your feet a lot. The knees take a lot of abuse. Now, if you've taken care of the shoes, what's going to happen is the shock that's going up to your knees is going to be lessened, so you're already ahead of the game with the knees. Now, something you don't want to do is bend and squat a lot. Bending is bad for the back, and by bending I mean this. And squatting, you know what I mean by squatting, it's what a catcher does. Those activities are just hard no matter how you do it. So what do you do to avoid that? Well, you substitute with kneeling. Kneeling substitutes, if you've got to do something low, it should be a kneeling. Well, what do you need for kneeling? Well, you're going to need a knee pad. If you're moving around a lot, which is to say if you're in a down position and you're kind of crawling around doing things here and there, knee pad is a good idea because it doesn't take a lot of time. It's stuck to you. A lot of people prefer that black insulation you got everywhere, and they'll just cut off a piece and keep it in their bag. It's light. If they need to kneel, they have it there. That's good if you don't have to move around and you're working in one spot. So either way, make sure you take care of your knees, all right? Let's move up, look at the upper extremities. The thumb is very interesting. The thumb is designed to do gripping. This is what the thumb is designed to do. Grip something like that, use a hammer, there you go. It's not designed to mash things like this. That's definitely not what it's supposed to be doing. So don't do that. A little button or something is fine, but using force like that tends to put a lot of wear and tear in this part of your thumb. It's called the CMC joint in arthritis, and there is very common with people who abuse their hands. The other thing you might not realize that works that thumb is a heavy pinch grip. Now, what do I mean by that? That's what I mean. If you're holding something heavy with a pinch grip, that's going to also abuse that joint. How do you carry that? We'll carry it like this. Claw it with the fingers. That's a good grip for that. But avoid heavy use like that and avoid that mashing with the thumb. Usually the fingers work pretty well. The next area of difficulty you have is going to be in the wrist. And most people have heard of carpal tunnel syndrome. And it's where the nerve comes through here and it can get pinched and give you trouble. And most people think that's a problem in the wrist. It's not really, it's in the hand. It's right across the base of the hand. That's where the carpal tunnel is. And what people get in trouble with is using their hand as a hammer. That puts a lot of abuse on that carpal tunnel. Like if you're closing a paint can or something like that. So you want to avoid beating on that, okay? Next thing you want to talk about is the gripping of the hand. And I don't know if you can see how my hand is straight when I grip? See how the knuckles come back? That's the power grip position. Not like this, but like this, okay? And here's why it makes a difference. I'm going to go in my power grip position, and there we go. And I can generate 100 pounds. Now watch what happens. I'm going to bend it slightly, just slightly. See how much that is? Now watch what I squeeze it as hard as I can. That's 30 pounds. Let's go the other direction. That's 40 pounds. So something with a 100-pound grip, if I'm in that optimal position, I can grip 50 pounds all day, I can grip 30 pounds all day. But if I'm in this position, I'm maxing out delivering 30 pounds. So if I have to work with my wrist in this position or this position, it's really easy to overwork it. And once the tendons get irritated and swell, that can give you that carpal tunnel. And what'll happen with carpal tunnel is you'll get tingling in these 3 fingers, okay? Now, you may notice that you wake up in the morning and have tingling in these 3 fingers. What you're likely doing is using your arm like this under your pillow to support your head. And if you keep it like that all night, you'll get the tingling in the morning. If it's transitory and goes away, it's nothing to worry about. If it becomes persistent, there's a brace you can wear at night to keep you from doing that. The other place you want to be careful of with tingling in the hand is these 2 fingers, which brings us to the next body part, which is the elbow. If it's just these 2 fingers, it's usually something is happening where that nerve is exposed at the elbow. The elbow is sort of like the knee of the arm, if you follow my logic. You don't want to put, just like with the knee, you don't want to put pressure on that. You don't want to put pressure on the elbow without a pad. If you've got to lean on something a lot, you need an elbow pad to protect it. And this is where the nerve is, okay? You've got the elbow pad to protect it. You've got the elbow pad to protect the nerve. When you hit that nerve, it's called the ulnar nerve, or the funny bone. When you hit that nerve, people go like this, it hurts like hell, and people laugh at them. The people who watch it think it's funny, not the person who gets hammered with it, okay? So if you're having tingling in here, you need to protect this area, okay? Now the elbow is similar to the wrist in that it's got a power position here. There's my power position. There's where I'm generating my massively impressive 100-pound grip, right? Now if I bend my elbow like this, drops off to 60 or 70. Same thing. If it's way straight, it drops off as well. So the arm, the wrist, and the elbow have power positions where you're going to be able to deliver your best strength. Now, is there a power position for your entire body, taking the shoulders into account? There certainly is. Now, if you didn't know where it was, what would be a way to find that power position? Well, let's say, make somebody exert strongly and they'll go into it automatically. So if I give you a jar that's hard to open, what do? Do you go like this? No, it's right here. So there you go. You just found your power position. It's right here. That's where your arms, shoulders, everything works together to deliver your maximum power. And it's the same thing when you're using your back. That's where your power position is when you're lifting in here. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the back in a bit. So we've talked about the thumb, we've talked about the carpal tunnel, we've talked about the wrist, we've talked about the elbow, working our way back up to the shoulder. Now what happens is the shoulder joint looks like this. It's got a shelf to it, it's got a cup, and here's your upper arm bone. So what happens is, right where that area is, there are tendons going through there. So as your arm goes overhead, it tends to put pressure on those tendons. So a lot of overhead work, as anybody who does it knows, is very hard on your shoulders. As you can see when I'm standing right here with my shoulder against my arm, that's my power position. As my elbow comes further away, as that upper arm comes further away from the body, it puts more and more stress on the shoulder. About to 30 degrees is pretty good. So that'll get me working at pretty much the level of my face. So that's pretty tolerable. When you start to go up above the level of your head, you can see just between working at face level, watch right here, working at face level, working above my head, big movement of the shoulder up, big extra stress. Why is that significant? Well, maybe if you're putting up scaffolding, you want to make sure people don't have to work higher than head level if they're having to do a lot of arm intensive stuff. You want to minimize this. You want to minimize the overhead out to the side. Be careful about that. Now, if you have shoulder trouble already, you may notice that if you're in the car and you reach into the back seat, that shoulder may get your attention real quick. That's a bad position for it. Power position close to the side, within 30 degrees of your side, decreasing power as you move away. Overhead, way less power. Out to the sides, way less power, okay? So, an interesting thing about the shoulder is that also has an effect on potential hand tingling. I'm going to review real quickly. Carpal tunnel this side, ulnar nerve this side, entire hand tingling at the same time, usually shoulder tightness. The nerves from your neck come through the pec minor muscle, and if you do a lot of work in front of you, which often is what you're doing exactly, doing a lot of hard work in front of you, that muscle gets tight. So if you're waking up in the morning and your entire hand is numb, it's probably shoulder tightness. So what can we do about all these hand and arm issues we've discussed? Well, it helps to know what puts stress on it and what doesn't, so you can avoid the stressful positions, but it's also a great idea to do stretches. So I'm not sure what the layout is where you are, but I'm going to ask everybody, if you've got room, I'm going to guide you through just a few stretches, but I'm going to do something real quick first. Boom. Let's start out with the hands. So what we want to do is, it's called finger flashes. You just shoot the fingers out straight and then pull them back. They should be pain-free. Do it to whatever level is pain-free for you. I'm going to show you that from the side. Bam, bam. Not to be confused with jazz hands, okay? Finger flashes. We'll do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Next exercise, we're going to start wrist stretches. So hands in a prayer position, elbows 90 degrees, shoulder blades back. We're going to bring that cut down until you feel the stretch in your wrist, then rotate it towards you. 6-second hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll do 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. See it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Should be pain-free. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and one more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That might have been 6 and 7. I wasn't paying attention. Next one, we're going to stretch these muscles here, which get very tight and give you tennis elbow. Okay? It goes out in front of you. You relax the hand, pull it back, and then you're going to turn that elbow to face toward the ceiling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Other side. Show you from the side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're rotating that to face the ceiling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 3 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. You've loosened up the hands, elbows. Now we're starting at the shoulder, and you're just going to bring your elbows back like this. You're going to pinch your shoulder blades together, and you're going to try and stretch your chest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6-second hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 2 more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Throw the chest out. Pull the shoulder blades back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Next one, arms out to the side, palms up, shoulder blades back, chest out. That's the position you want. And you're going to do shoulder circles. 1, 2. If you're limber and feel good, you can do big ones. 3, 4, 5. We'll do 10. If you're having trouble, do small ones. 6, 7. Chest out, shoulders back. 8, 9, 10. You should be feeling yourself already warming up through there. Last shoulder exercise we're going to show you is hand slaps. You're going to slap. You're going to do a little bit of a ballistic stretch. Palms up and back. That's 2. We're going to do 10. 3. There you go. Arch your back. 4, 5. Shoulders together. 6. Chest out. 7, 8, 9, 10. And the reason I had you do this, I wanted you to feel that. And you should feel like, hey, I'm kind of warmed up pretty good. That took a total of 3 minutes. All right? It doesn't take a lot of time. All right? Now, one of the things I want to emphasize with this is you don't have to go through a full body warm-up all the time. It's good to teach people, if they're doing specific jobs, that there's specific stretches they might want to do beforehand. Now, let me tell you a story about something that I did in the past, and this involved the Ford plant, so you get some idea of when that was, and Johnson Controls. Now, Johnson Controls made the seats for the Ford plant, and what would happen is there was a ticker tape that would run to Johnson Controls, and it would spit out a label that would tell them what kind of seats they were making, what color it was, what style it was, the whole deal. These would come out while the chassis was being assembled at the Ford plant. So the truck was being built at the same time the seats were being put together. So this was a very time-intensive, very by-the-clock activity. Johnson Controls had to pay a ridiculous amount of money if for any reason they stopped that Ford line because they weren't getting their products there in time. So what they did, when it's ridiculously expensive and it has to be done right, they did a number of things. First of all, they had employees that were tested. So they'd get that employee, and before they'd put him on the line, they'd have a series of physical tests that they do to make sure that they could do the job. So there's post-offer pre-employment screening. Then they'd start them on stretching and conditioning program and kind of work them into the line. They do so many hours, then they do so many hours, they'd get them into full production. Now, what happens if you've got a guy who's doing production and he's starting to develop pain? Do you wait until it gets bad enough and he goes see the doctor and you've got a workers' comp injury and he's out? Well, no. What you do is as soon as that guy's seeing pain, I would get a little ticker tape that says Mr. Smith on job number 12 is having right wrist pain on the second shift. And I'd go over to the second shift and take a look and see what Mr. Smith was doing. And often it was what I'd call silly stuff. And what I mean by silly stuff is they would have a job rotation set up for employees because each job is so intensely repetitive that every couple of hours they change machines. And they'd be on a different job that stressed a different part of their body. So Mr. Smith had trouble on job 12. And you'd look at it and you'd see, oh, well, the problem with Mr. Smith is he's tall. The guy who did job 12 before him was really short, and Mr. Smith doesn't know there's a height adjustment for that station. So the short guy had it up, so Mr. Smith is doing it like this when he should be doing it like this, okay? So it would be something silly. Or he's supposed to pull this part down and then do this, and he was doing it in the reverse order, so there was too much tension on that. So sometimes it would be a process thing about the way he was doing the job, and sometimes you'd have to say, that looks okay. Somebody would step in and Mr. Smith would step away from the job and I'd check him, and it might be, holy crap, he's ridiculously stiff here. You'd be able to check him and find out what was going on, give him some things to do, maybe have the plant keep him off job number 12 for 48 hours before he rotates back. Now, this was done in cases where it was related to the job. The pain was related to the job. But they had another problem. If Mr. Smith is playing softball over the weekend and torques his wrist, and he calls in because he can't work, or tries to work and can't and goes home, that's not a comp injury, but it's still a production hole. They got to fill that hole. So what they did is they put him in the ticker tape too. And I get a thing, Mr. Smith hurt his hand during softball, and he's having trouble on job number 12. So I'd go over there, maybe his wrist is swollen, we'll take a look at it. I might do something, I might even tape his wrist. I'll tape his wrist and I'll tell the nurse at lunch, ice him down and put this wrist wrap over the tape. I tell Mr. Smith, keep this tape on for 48 hours, use the wrist wrap, keep him off job number 12 for a little while, blah, blah, blah. The whole point is, it didn't make a difference if it was job related or not job related, it still created a production hole. So they did something about that by making sure he got the help he needed to stay in production. Because if you're out of production, that's money, money, money. So I'd like to say we get involved in safety and taking care of people, and companies all have halo above their head and all are worried about their employees. That would be nice. Sometimes that's true. But even if they're money-grubbing capitalists, they should still be taking care of their employees, because their employees are like equipment. And if their employees break down, production breaks down. So either way you look at it, saint or asshole, I mean, the motivation should be, let's keep these people in production by doing something to help them out. Now, wouldn't it be cool if on your jobs everybody was tested to make sure that they could do the job? Wouldn't it be cool if they were shown exactly how to do each job? Wouldn't it be cool if somebody was available, if they had pain, that somebody could go out on site and see what they're doing? And Donna's going to talk to you about that later, because all that stuff is actually available. And it has been available more intensively in the production industries where there's an assembly line. This is where all of this stuff was developed. And you guys have a different kind of work environment, but it's still stressful on your body, but there are programs to help you with that. Now, I'm going to give you a little flavor with a second setup about something. I'm going to talk to you about pre-employment testing, but I'm also going to talk to you about training. So we're just going to set up that scheme and we'll go over that real quick.